Success demands silence and sacrifice. Everybody wants success, but not everybody wants the lifestyle that success requires. They want the applause, not the empty gyms. They want the results, not the repetition. They want the story, not the struggle. And that's where most people lose the game, long before it ever starts. Success isn't loud. It doesn't announce itself. It doesn't post updates. It doesn't argue with doubters. Real success moves in silence, because when you're truly locked in, there's no time to explain. You're too busy building, too busy sharpening, too busy showing up when nobody's watching. Silence is discipline. Silence is focus. Silence is choosing to work while everyone else is talking. When you're chasing greatness, you don't broadcast your plans, you execute them. You don't seek validation, you seek improvement. Every hour you spend explaining your dreams is an hour you could have spent earning them. The grind doesn't need witnesses. The grind needs commitment. Success is built in silence while others are distracted by noise. That silence isn't empty, it's full of intent, full of repetition, full of hours that nobody claps for. While people are busy announcing goals, comparing progress, scrolling through other lives, the real work is happening quietly, away from attention, away from approval. Silence is where focus lives. Silence is where habits are forged. Noise feels productive, but it rarely is. Noise is opinions, excuses, constant validation seeking. Silence is execution. When you stop explaining yourself, you start improving yourself. Every explanation is energy spent outward instead of inward. Every argument is focus leaked. The people who win don't need to convince anyone of what they're doing. They let time do that job. They let results speak. They understand that the craft doesn't care about your intentions, only your consistency. You either show up or you don't. You either put the work in or you look for reasons why you couldn't. Silence means waking up early without telling the world. Silence means staying late when no one is counting the hours. It means failing quietly, correcting quietly, rebuilding quietly. No dramatic exits, no public breakdowns, just adjustment and repetition. The process doesn't need sympathy, it needs precision. And precision comes from focus, not attention. Most people are distracted by noise because noise feels like movement. Talking feels like progress. Planning feels like action. Complaining feels like effort, but none of it replaces doing the work. Silence strips you down to the truth. In silence, there's nowhere to hide. You can't lie to yourself about how hard you're working. You can't fake discipline when nobody's watching. That's why silence scares people. It exposes gaps. It exposes weakness. It exposes laziness. But if you stay there long enough, silence becomes a weapon. It sharpens your instincts. It deepens your concentration. You start noticing details others miss because they're too busy reacting to everything around them. You learn patience. You learn restraint. You learn how to delay gratification without feeling deprived because you're chasing something bigger than comfort. While others are distracted by applause, you're obsessed with improvement. While others are chasing quick wins, you're stacking small, boring reps that compound over time. That's the difference. Greatness isn't dramatic. It's monotonous. It's repetitive. It's doing the same thing at a high level long after the excitement wears off. Noise pulls you outward. Silence pulls you inward. And growth always starts inward. The strongest mindset isn't loud. It doesn't announce confidence. It doesn't need a posture. It knows what it's doing and it stays locked in. When doubts come, silence absorbs them. When criticism comes, silence filters it. You take what's useful, discard the rest, and keep moving. There's power in not reacting, power in not responding, power in letting people underestimate you while you sharpen. Underestimation creates space. Space creates freedom. Freedom allows you to work without pressure, without expectation, without distraction. By the time people notice, it's already too late to stop you. Silence also teaches endurance. When there's no audience, the only reason to continue is commitment, and commitment built without witnesses is unbreakable. You don't quit because quitting would mean admitting you were never serious. You keep going because stopping would betray the standard you set for yourself. Success built in silence lasts longer because it wasn't rushed. It wasn't forced. It wasn't fueled by hype. It was earned slowly, deliberately, methodically, brick by brick, rep by rep, day by day. No shortcuts, no applause breaks, just work layered on top of work until momentum becomes inevitable. The noise will always be there. Opinions, distractions, comparisons, trends. You don't defeat noise by fighting it, you defeat it by ignoring it, by choosing depth over attention, mastery over popularity, execution over explanation. And while others are busy reacting to the world, you're busy building something the world will eventually have no choice but to notice. Sacrifice is choosing long-term greatness over short-term comfort, and that choice shows up every single day in ways most people will never see. It shows up when the alarm goes off and your body asks for more sleep, but your standard demands more effort. It shows up when comfort offers excuses that sound reasonable, and you have to decide whether reasonable is good enough for the life you want. Greatness doesn't respond to comfort. It responds to commitment. Short-term comfort is seductive because it feels harmless. One skipped session, one delayed start, one more night off, one more excuse that doesn't seem like it matters. But sacrifice understands the math of accumulation. It knows that small decisions, repeated daily, shape identity. You're not sacrificing one moment of comfort, you're sacrificing a pattern that leads nowhere. And in return, you're investing in a future most people are unwilling to earn. Long-term greatness demands that you trade now for later. It demands patience in a world addicted to instant reward. While others chase what feels good today, you're building something that will still matter years from now. That means discomfort becomes familiar. It means boredom becomes normal. It means doing the same uncelebrated work over and over until it becomes part of who you are. Sacrifice means accepting that balance is a myth during the climb. There are seasons where comfort has to wait, where entertainment has to wait, where social approval has to wait. You don't get to have everything at once. You choose what matters most and why. Oh, let everything else fall into the background. That's not obsession. That's clarity. People will misunderstand your sacrifice because they only see what you give up, not what you're building. They'll say you're doing too much, working too hard, taking it too seriously. But they won't be there when the results show up. They won't be there when the doors open. They won't be there when the work finally pays its debt. Sacrifice is lonely because the vision is yours alone. Every level demands a new sacrifice. What got you here won't get you there. You don't sacrifice once and arrive. You sacrifice again at a higher standard, more precision, more discipline, more responsibility. The comfort you enjoyed before becomes the cost of staying where you are. And if you want to move forward, something else has to be let go. Sacrifice also teaches you respect for time. You stop wasting it because you know what it costs. Every hour becomes intentional. Every action has purpose. You don't move randomly. You move deliberately. You understand that greatness isn't about intensity for a week. It's about consistency for years, and consistency requires structure, not impulse. There will be moments where sacrifice feels unfair, moments where you're giving more than you're receiving, moments where it feels like others are advancing while you're stuck grinding in place. That's the test, not of talent, but of patience, not of desire, but of endurance. Anyone can sacrifice when results are immediate. Very few can sacrifice when progress is invisible. Short-term comfort always offers relief. Long-term greatness offers fulfillment. One fades quickly, the other stays. Comfort makes promises it can't keep. It tells you to rest before you're tired, quit before you're empty, settle before you're tested. Sacrifice tells the truth. It tells you this will hurt, this will be lonely, this will take longer than you want. And if you accept that truth, it gives you something real. You don't sacrifice because you enjoy pain. You sacrifice because you respect your potential. You sacrifice because you refuse to look back one day and wonder how far you could have gone if you had stayed disciplined. You sacrifice because comfort is cheap and greatness is earned. And every time you choose discipline over ease, effort over escape, commitment over convenience, you reinforce the identity of someone who doesn't negotiate with their goals, someone who understands that the future is built by what you're willing to give up today, by the hours you protect, by the habits you refuse to break, by the standards you hold even when nobody is enforcing them, by the quiet choices that stack up until the weight of them becomes undeniable. Discipline in unseen moments determines visible success, because what the world applauds is only the surface of what was earned in isolation. The highlights, the wins, the recognition, all of that is built on decisions made when no one was watching, when there was no pressure to perform for anyone else. Unseen moments are where standards are tested because there's no external reward, no immediate consequence, no audience to impress. All that exists is choice. Discipline isn't proven under bright lights. It's proven in routine, in repetition, in showing up on days that feel ordinary, days that feel heavy, days that feel pointless. Anyone can be disciplined when motiva, T-on is high and the goal feels close. Very few can maintain discipline when progress is slow and feedback is silent. That's where separation happens. Unseen moments don't care about how talented you are. They expose how prepared you are. They expose how honest you are with yourself. When nobody is counting reps, tracking hours, or checking results, discipline becomes a personal contract. You either honor it or you don't. And every time you break it, even in private, you teach yourself that your word is flexible. Visible success is misleading because it looks sudden. People see the moment, not the miles. They see the outcome, not the accumulation. They don't see the early mornings, the late nights, the quiet corrections, the boring drills repeated thousands of times. They don't see the restraint, the patience, the discipline to do the basics at a high level long after the excitement disappeared. Discipline in unseen moments is about doing the right thing without supervision. It's about training when no one is checking attendance, studying when there's no exam tomorrow, practicing when there's no immediate payoff. Those moments shape identity. Over time, you don't just act disciplined, you become disciplined. And that identity carries into pressure situations naturally. There's a reason most people rely on motivation. Motivation is external, it's emotional, it's temporary. Discipline is internal. It doesn't ask how you feel, it asks what the standard is. In unseen moments, there's no emotional boost, no speech, no music, no crowd, just the task and your willingness to respect it. Small disciplines look insignificant in isolation. One extra rep, one more hour, one choice no, T to quit early. But success doesn't respond to intensity alone. It responds to consistency. And consistency is built in private. One decision stacks on top of another until the weight of those decisions becomes undeniable. Unseen discipline also creates confidence that can't be shaken. When you know how much work you've put in, you don't need reassurance. You don't panic under pressure because pressure feels familiar. You've already tested yourself when it didn't matter. You've already pushed when quitting would have gone unnoticed. That's why visible moments feel calmer to disciplined people. They've already paid the price. People who skip unseen discipline always hope to flip a switch later. They think they'll lock in when it counts. But discipline doesn't appear on command. It's built through habit. You don't suddenly become reliable under pressure if you've been inconsistent in private. Pressure only reveals patterns. It doesn't create them. Unseen moments also teach patience. You learn to work without applause. You learn to trust the process without proof. You learn to delay gratification without resentment. That patience becomes an advantage because most people need immediate feedback to stay committed. When it doesn't come, they drift. You don't, because your discipline isn't dependent on recognition. Visible success is loud, but it's fragile without unseen discipline supporting it. Without that foundation, success becomes temporary. It becomes performance instead of substance. It collapses under pressure because there's nothing underneath. Discipline in private builds something solid, something repeatable, something sustainable. Every day offers unseen moments. Moments to cut corners, moments to stay honest, moments to hold the line when it would be easier to let it slide. Those choices don't feel dramatic, they feel small, but they decide everything. Over time, they decide who can be trusted with bigger opportunities, bigger stages, bigger responsibility. The world only rewards what it can see, but it's built by what it never notices. The gap between average and exceptional is filled with unseen discipline, with choices made when no one was watching, with effort applied without guarantee, with consistency maintained without excitement, with standards upheld in silence, with a refusal to lower the bar even when it would be easy to pretend that today doesn't matter, because every unseen moment is a vote for who you are becoming. And those votes accumulate quietly until one day they show up publicly as results that look effortless, inevitable, almost sudden, even though they were earned slowly, deliberately, privately, in moments most people ignored, avoided, or underestimated.